Hey everyone, I'm Sydney Carr. I'm a branch manager with the Carr team at Benchmark Mortgage. I was sitting with one of my really good friends who's a realtor the other day, and she asked me such a wonderful question. And she goes, "How do you want me to refer clients to you?" And I thought, what an amazing question, because it's something that we don't think about often. So today I want to walk you through how to refer clients to me effectively, why it matters so much for your conversion rates, and the exact language you can use to set your clients and your deals up for success. Now, mind you, this isn't about exclusivity or pressure. It's all about clarity, confidence, and client trust. So let's start with why this is so important. When a client is introduced to a lender the right way, a few powerful things happen. First off, trust is transferred immediately. The client trusts you as their agent, so that trust is transferred directly to me as the lender. The client is also far more likely to engage and follow through. Twofold reason. Number one, they trust you, they trust your expertise. And number two, it's very easy to see an email in your inbox, right? So it's a good reminder of how they need to get to me or how they need to be working with me. And it's a constant reminder every time they look at their email. Pre-approvals definitely happen faster and with fewer issues. And the most important is your deals are more likely to close. I think, one of my greatest gifts in the mortgage industry is that when I tell you I can get a deal done, I have a 99.9% success rate of getting it to the closing table. So it's super important to understand, especially when you're talking about anxious clients or clients that are on the fence or someone that just really needs that hand holding. It allows me to really take control of that and help you. So I was reading this Tom Ferry study the other day, and they did a study on client introductions. And what they found was really interesting. So what they found is that when realtors introduce a lender via email, your conversion rates increase by over 78% compared to group text or just waiting for the client to reach out on their own. So the big takeaway here is, you know, emails feel more intentional and professional. They look at you and myself as professionals, and they want to know that they're in really good quality hands. It also clearly establishes trust and authority. It gives the client context before I even have a chance to talk to them or reach out. And it positions the introduction as a recommendation and not an option, right? It's a, hey, I trust this person and I know that she'll take care of you. The one thing that Tom Ferry's team found out is that group text feel a little casual and rushed. And then when a client is left to reach out on their own, a lot of them just don't. And it's not because they're uninterested, but life gets busy and there's no urgency and not a really clear sense of direction. So a warm welcome introduction eliminates hesitation and it really increases that follow through on the client side. So on the flip side of that, when a lender referral is vague or optional, something like, hey, here's a few lenders you can try, or something to that effect, here's three lenders, pick one. Clients can often delay, or they endlessly price shop, or they just kind of disengage entirely because they feel overwhelmed. And that hesitation can cost you a lot of momentum, time, and even sometimes the deal itself, because clients, again, get overwhelmed or disinterested and kind of fall off the planet, right? They don't get back to us. So the goal for this is not to remove their choice, but to provide confident guidance to them so that they have a clear path to finding a home that they want to purchase. The power of the warm introduction, especially through email, it's really one of the most effective ways to refer a client is through a warm email introduction. And that's because it creates immediate credibility. So two things happen. You remove that awkward cold outreach, hey, I don't know if so-and-so told you about me or not intro. It sets expectations before we even have our first conversation, and it really improves response and conversion rates. So when a client receives an email from you as someone they already know, they already trust, clearly explaining why you're introducing them to me, it positions the conversation as the next logical step, not just a sales tactic. So here's what makes a really strong referral email work. So you want to lead with confidence, also explain why you trust me, set the expectations for the client, and give clear next steps. This doesn't have to be a long explanation. It doesn't have to be lengthy. It doesn't have to go into too much detail. You just want clarity and confidence because that matters so much more than the length of the email. So Here's a couple of examples. You're welcome to copy and paste these, customize them, make them sound like you. But the first one is just kind of confident and direct. Hey, so and so, I'd like to introduce you to Sydney Carr with the Carr team at Benchmark Mortgage. Sydney's my go-to lender. She's an important part of my team. She does an incredible job educating my clients and staying ahead of issues and making the finance process smooth from start to finish. Sydney, I'm looping you in. Get started and answer any questions they have. How great is that? Simple, effective, to the point, shows your leadership in the transaction. So the next one is more educational, a little more client focused. It can go something along the lines of, hey, so-and-so, I'm connecting you with Sydney Carr. She's a lender I work closely with and I trust her completely. She takes a very consultative approach, walking you through options, timelines, next steps, so you always feel confident moving forward. Sydney will take great care of you and help you get prepped for success. So that one can also be a really good option for that, kind of nervous on the fence client is, hey, she just wants to help you gain knowledge, because that is my goal. That's what I want to do as your lender is I want each client to feel super confident and super involved and super educated. So third option, it's a little more first-time buyer focused. So you can say, hey, so-and-so, buying a home comes with a lot of moving pieces, so I always want to recommend working with a lender who takes time to explain the process clearly. That's why I'm introducing you to Sydney Carr. She's fantastic with education and communication, and I know you'll be in fantastic hands. So shows the trust that you have in me to take care of your client, right? It shows them immediately that, hey, I know that you're new to this, but I'm not, so let me help guide you. All right. So the other thing that I hear often is, how do I recommend you strongly without sounding pushy? Well, here's the deal. We are experts in our field, right? People pay us because we know how to do this job and do it well, right? So confidence doesn't equal pressure. So you can always use phrases like, this is the lender that I trust and I work most closely with. This is who I recommend to my clients because I know they'll be taken care of. And of course, you're welcome to explore options, but I really would like for you to start here. Another thing for those of you that I've worked with in the past on personal deals, a fantastic line to use here is, hey, Sydney's who I trusted to do my personal loan. And I'm in this business, if that tells you anything. Okay, so just, it's not pushy, it's honest, it's direct, it's, hey, these are the people that I trust, right? So now, this is a little bit trickier topic, right? Like, what happens if you have a client and they already have a lender? That becomes a little bit trickier, right? Kind of makes everyone pause a little bit, especially if you don't know the lender, you don't trust them, or especially if it's an internet lender that we all know can be hit or miss. So this is the most important part of this. It's not about telling the clients they're wrong or they chose incorrectly or forcing them to switch. It's about making sure they're fully informed and truly set up for success. A lot of clients choose a lender based on convenience, maybe a quick online quote, or maybe brother's cousin's uncle is a mortgage banker, or they don't really understand how a lender performs their tasks and they don't really understand what all is involved in the lending aspect of things. So as their realtor, you're not overstepping by encouraging a second opinion. You're just advocating for them. You're being that voice that they didn't even know that they needed. Okay. So couple of mindset shifts here, because I don't want you to be like, oh, that's great that you have a lender, but this is my girl, you have to use her, right? That's never going to work. It's not an option. That's not being an advocate. So we're not asking them to switch, right? We're just asking them to talk to me so that they can compare. And a comparison protects everyone, right? It's good for business all across the board. So some helpful language that you can use sounds something like, hey, that's great that you already have someone. I'm still going to recommend having a quick conversation with my lender so you can compare options and timelines. Or maybe something like, I like to make sure my clients talk with the lender I trust, just so we're covered on all sides. Or maybe, hey, before moving forward, I want to have a second set of eyes on your financing, especially from someone that I work closely with and has my full trust. So it keeps the conversation very collaborative. It keeps the conversation non-confrontational, and it's not pushy. It's, hey, I'm looking out for your best interest because I don't know who you're working with, but I know who I trust to do this job. Okay. So even when a client already has a lender, obviously a warm email introduction is always incredibly effective. So here's a couple of samples of some wording you can use for someone who already has a lender, but you might, you want them to talk to me just so we can get the ball rolling. So one option is always a second opinion. That's always a good option for anything that you're buying, right? So, hey client, I know you're already connected with a lender. That's awesome. I'd still love for you to connect with Sydney Carr. She's the lender I work with most closely. Just to compare options and timelines, she has a great resource and will help make sure everything aligns as we move forward. So again, not telling them to switch, not telling them to not use that other lender. It's just, hey, let's make sure that you have all of your options here. You're not going to go buy the first house that you look at, right? So it's never going to hurt to take a second opinion and go look at that second house, right? And make sure that you like it. It's the same concept with me as someone who comes to me that already has talked to a lender. That's not a scary thing. That's not a bad thing. I love that because then I get to fill in the gaps that other lender didn't clarify for them. Okay. So option two, we're going to do it at a protection and performance angle, right? Hey, so-and-so, because financing plays such a big role once we're under contract, I always like my clients to speak with Sydney Carr. She's a lender I trust to perform and communicate throughout the process. Even if you keep your current lender, this conversation can add a lot of clarity. So again, I'm never going to tell your clients, oh, you have to use me because your realtor said so. That doesn't help anyone. My job is to be helpful and educational and make sure they understand the market and they understand rates and they understand cost and they have a full picture of the loan aspect. And you know what? Even if they end up not using me, it's okay because I know that they're going to be better off for having that conversation with me. So option three, we're going to strengthen the strategy, right? So, hey, so-and-so, as we were prepared to write offers, I recommend connecting with Sydney Carr, who helps ensure our financing strategy strengthens your offers and protects timelines. This can be really helpful even if you already have a lender. I think this is super important, especially in our market, because those pre-approvals mean so much, right? You're, as a listing agent, you know when you get a pre-approval that you look at and you go, oh yeah, this is good. It's important. And clients don't understand that because this isn't something that they do every day. This isn't, their entire livelihood like it is ours. So they don't understand the importance of just a name on a pre-qualification letter. And so it's really important to offer that strength strategy and making sure your offers are as valuable as possible because again, that's why clients pay us to do our job is because we're experts at it. We understand these things that they don't. Okay. So a lot of times clients choose to switch after having these conversations, but even when they don't, it's just an added benefit, an added clarity. Okay. So next thing is, why is this step so valuable for you as the agent? Two things. Number one, you gain visibility into the financing. If you've ever worked with me before, I'm super transparent. I'm going to call you all the time. Not too much though, don't worry. And keep you updated through the process. So you're never in the dark wondering what's going on with your client's file. We're also going to reduce surprises after going under contract because we're going to have a fully approved file before you even go make that offer most of the time. And so the only thing that could be a surprise is the property itself. And that's not anything you or I can control. I'm also going to detect your appraisals, your underwriting, and your closing timelines. So, having my own appraisal panel is so huge for me because it allows me to only have appraisers that I trust doing my appraisals. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Appraisals are 50% of a transaction, right? And so having that control and having that knowledge to make sure that we're using the best of the best is so incredibly impactful. You also want to ensure your client is working with someone who can perform under pressure. What happens when something goes wrong? What happens when that last piece of paper doesn't look the way we thought it was going to? Do you have someone who has enough knowledge base and skill and experience to handle those situations, handle them delicately and quickly, and create ease instead of panic? So here's a couple of things that I do whenever I have someone who approaches me that already has a lender. And, you know, I think I always try and go into it with a thought process of just being super respectful and educational and pressure free. Because let's be clear, there there are going to be times when maybe the lender they talk to, they might, I mean, they could have a better deal. I doubt it, but they could have, have some kind of special rate that I don't have that day in that particular time. I'm going to tell them that. And I'm going to tell them, hey, yeah, the rate looks great, but have they talked to you about this, this, and this? Have they talked to you about all of these different things? Let's educate you on things that are important outside of interest rate, because that's something that a lot of lenders don't put emphasis on, right? I want you to know what your options are, what your real numbers are going to look like, and what you can expect during the transaction, all the way from our first conversation to post closing. So, if it makes sense for us to work together, that's amazing. And if not, they still walk away more informed and your relationship with them stays completely protected, which is the most important part of you guys referring to me, because without protecting you, then we're not a team. We're not working together, and that doesn't make sense for anyone. Okay. So I think recommending the second opinion, it's really about, leadership more so than loyalty. Because the biggest part that I want to emphasize here is clients rely on you guys to guide them through this kind of unfamiliar territory. And lending is one of the most important pieces of a transaction, unless, lucky for you, you have a cash transaction. But, offering them access to a trusted lender, even when they already have one, it's really one of the more professional things that you can do. And, I'm here to support you. I'm here to support your clients. I'm here to support your deals, just whatever that looks like. I want to be a valuable asset to your team in any way, shape, and form. So, just so you know, kind of once a client is referred to me, when you refer a client to me, here's what you can expect. Number one, we're going to reach out within the hour. So my team and I have a system set up that once we receive a referral during business hours, they're going to receive a phone call, a text, and an email within the hour, depending on which one they prefer. Okay. We're going to take a relationship first discovery conversation. So that first conversation is not going to go, hey, what rate did they give you? Right? It's what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the most important piece for you when going through this home buying journey? All right. Then once we have that vision, then we can educate them on their options and the next steps through the process. And then, of course, we will consistently communicate with you throughout the process. You should never and will never feel in the dark about anything that's happening on the lending side. All right. So my goal is not just to pre-approve your client, it's to help you write stronger offers, protect your timelines, and create a smooth transaction that reflects incredibly well on you. All right. So just to kind of recap everything, referrals work best when they're intentional. Confident introduction, clear wording, aligned expectation, it all dramatically increases that client engagement, that lender conversion rate, and also your closed transaction rate. So if you ever want help crafting referral language that fits your voice or explaining the lending process to a specific client, I'm always happy to support you, because we win when we work as a team. So thank you so much for trusting me with your clients. Please know that I never take that lightly, and I appreciate you so incredibly much, and I'm always here to help. And I look forward to working with you soon.